Welcome to the conference. 2017, our 19th year, and next year we're celebrating our 20th year. That's going to be a hell of a conference, but more on that later. Many of you know that I participate in an Ironman event every year. Now they say that performing an Ironman can age you by 20 years. What do you think? Thankfully, they also say that the recovery process more than reverses that process, as you can see. Fine. But that's true of life, isn't it? Any time we're trying to stretch ourselves, to take ourselves out of our comfort zone, to do something different, it takes its toll on us. It can lead to anxiety, stress sometimes, sleepless nights. But when we recover, when we come out of the other side of that, we're much stronger, we're much more energetic, much more invigorated, aren't we? Today's theme is about changing perceptions. And there's two meanings to that today for me. Changing the perception of the accountancy profession, because there's still that stigma attached, isn't there? There's still a stereotype association of what an accountant is to many business owners out there. And let me just demonstrate that. A few years ago in 2009, there was a survey carried out. And one of the questions was this: what three words would best describe your accountant? So brace yourselves. The top four most commonly listed words in 2009 were introverted, systematic, antisocial, and boring. Clearly, no client of an AVN member participated in this survey. So what's it like now? That was 8 years ago. What's it like now? So I posted this same question into 3 closed Facebook groups that I'm part of. These Facebook groups consist exclusively of entrepreneur business owners, business leaders, ranging all sizes of business and different types of industries. So I asked that same question in these 3 different groups and collected the data from that. So these were the 4 most commonly uttered words that came back to me. So efficient, that's a positive, isn't it? And supportive. We've still got distant and uninspiring, which is a shame. Now that's not consistent. There were some great words in there. Inspiring did come up. Energetic came up, but not to the frequency of these 4 words. Perceptions are changing though, aren't they? And we want to continue to change those perceptions, because I know from personal experience that accountants aren't introverted, systematic, antisocial and boring, but we want to change that perception across the UK. It's in our interest to continue to evolve and change all of the time, isn't it? So that perceptions aren't reflective of previous times. Charles Handy, in his book, forget the name of the book now, but talks about the sigmoid curve principle. And he talks about the lifespan of a product or a business, and at some point it passes its usefulness unless we continue to evolve it. So the best time to evolve your product or your business isn't after demand has started to wane for it, because there's a perception that it's past its use-by date, and evolving it is probably too late. The best time isn't either after it's peaked. The best time to evolve your business, your product, is whilst the demand is still on the increase. So when people do change, that becomes scary, doesn't it? That takes its toll. And that's where the loser trap comes in, because people think, oh no, things were much better before, I'm going to go back to how it was. I've got alternative titles for these. I've got proactively evolve, reactively evolve, and live in hope. Now, I said there were 2 sides to this perception changing. The accountancy profession changing its perception, but in addition, actually, there's a perception that I want to change as well about AVN. Now, AVN started back in 1998. And that light bulb there represented taking an existing idea, making it bigger and brighter and better, and applying it to the accountancy profession. In fact, back in 1998, what people got for their membership was training from Steve and a folder pretty much like the one he's got on his desk there, full of printed out ideas, action resources that you could take, apply to your practice and apply with your clients. And AVN has continued to evolve over the time. It introduced software to automate some of those ideas in there, and it's introduced many different things along the way. And a couple of years ago we ran our 2015 conference entitled Changing Lives. And we interviewed accountants and their clients who brought their, the accountants who brought their clients along who were telling their stories about how they've been inspired by their accountants. And it felt quite fitting that, well, if we're going to rebrand, if we're going to change the perception out there about what AVN is now, that we take that theme of inspiring accountants. So our new logo, which many of you will have seen by now, represents what we're about now. It's not about the software. It's not just about the ideas. It's about inspiring accountants to be inspiring accountants and make a difference out there and change lives. And our logo isn't just about taking an existing idea and making it better. It's about impacting on different facets of a business, but also on the lives behind those businesses as well. Whether it's giving people more time with their families or more holidays, more financial freedom. So that's where we're at with our logo and our brand, and we want to change that perception out there. I was speaking to some of our ex-members who left us maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, and their perception of AVN is that we're just software tools. Well, that's not the case, and it hasn't been for quite some time. So we've all got perceptions to change, and we all need to keep evolving, don't we? Given that we have been rediscovering AVN quite significantly in certainly in the recent few months, I'd like to give the people in this room an update. You all have a vested interest in where AVN is going. So in my introduction today, I'd like to give you, if you like, a stakeholders report as to where AVN is and where we're heading. Okay? So we're going to look at AVN, and we're going to look at it through the lens of the AVNRoadmaps that we introduced last year, because it might just put that into perspective as well. So the AVNRoadmaps start with clarity, and when we're working with accountants, sometimes we need to help them see the wood for the trees before we can start looking at longer term visions and goals. Get a few quick wins out there. So jumping forward, what's our end goal? Well, I'm not ready for retiring yet, so my end game is looking about 10 years ahead. What I'd like to do, and I'll put this number into perspective, in 10 years' time I'd like to have helped over 6,000 accountants, not necessarily accountancy practices, but accountants, to become much more successful, enjoy what they're doing, and that they're making a difference. And it's an ever-decreasing size world, isn't it? It's a small world. And I'd like there to be a more global presence for AVN out there. Taking a step back then, 3 years from now, I'd like to be taking 40 firms through our Fast Track membership program. For those of you who aren't aware, our Fast Track membership program is effectively AVN board view for accountants. It's getting up close and personal around the boardroom table. At the moment that's capped to 20. In 3 years' time I'd like that to be 40 firms. Concurrently taking 150 members through our advanced programs and 80 members through our foundation program. All centered around the roadmaps. We set these goals earlier this year. So the immediate goal, and obviously this is broke down much more internally, is that we want to build on what we've got. Before we start thinking, well, what's next for the accountants that have come through the roadmaps, just build on what we've got and make that right before we start to expand into other areas. So does that make sense in terms of our vision and goals? Who do we want to work with? Well, of course, it's accountants, but accountants who want to create a practice that gives them much better choice about their lifestyle, their income and their contribution. Taking a step further back still, where are we now? Well, we are AVN. We're here to inspire accountants to become inspiring accountants. And we're not a software company. Yes, we supply software, but ultimately we're a coaching and training organisation for accountants. We're one UK-wide community of accountants, and UK is where the primary focus is right now, of course. We have our 7-stage roadmap. To date, since 1998, we've helped over 2,000 accountancy practices become much more successful and enjoyable. Reaching through those accountants because we've helped them become much more business advisors than before, we've touched on over 300,000 businesses. And collectively, most of the people in this room, we have impacted on 8.5 million lives through B1G1. And that, for me, is an amazing accomplishment. Positioning is the second stage in our roadmap. That's all about changing perception. Changing the perception of just an accountant, that stereotypical perception that people have. And these are some of the things that we cover in positioning, just a handful of them. So we help people define what's their purpose, and then how can that be applied to their business? What are their values and beliefs? What's their ideal client profile? Awards and accreditations also help to change perception. They give you the credibility. What's your unique selling points? What's your unique value proposition? And the difference for me there, by the way, is the unique selling points, and this is my opinion, are what you believe sets you apart from the competition. The unique value proposition is based on a survey, and we did a survey of many of the people in this room to find out what your customers think of you as being unique and valuable. And then once you've taken all that, you fold that into all of your communication, because that's what makes you unique and sets you apart from the competition. So from our point of view then, my personal purpose is to improve the ability for people to make better lifestyle choices. The mission for AVN has never changed since 1998. The why has always been there. The how has evolved. Make accountancy practices become the most successful and enjoyable to run in the world. And as a consequence of doing that, help own and manage businesses become much more successful and enjoyable to run as well. Our values, and we only recruit team members that match our values, and we only want to work with AVN members who match our values. Our values are own it. So in other words, take the bull by its horns and deal with it, JFDI, make it happen, when would now be a good time, all of those expressions, just deal with it, that's own it. Keep evolving this from a personal development point of view, but also apply that to the business as well. Keep evolving the business. So internally, we're always looking at our systems, our resources, our software, and looking to make them better. 6-star service arguably goes without saying. That's about just making sure that we wow our customers at every possible opportunity. Go a step further every single time. We want to have fun, not just internally, and it's not just about having fun, is it? It's fun with a serious intent. But we want to let our hair down if we've got some. And ultimately, we're about making lives better. Our beliefs, we believe that every single business owner out there needs the help and support from somebody else in order to thrive as a business. Success isn't really success if it's at the expense of family, friends, and health, is it? We also believe that accountants are good, ethical people who have a genuine desire to make a difference. This is an old adage, give a man a fish he feeds for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. And that is our philosophy, it always has been, that we don't want to just lock people in to the membership here, and as soon as they part company with us, they're back to square one. We want to help them grow and develop so that they can move on from us as much better, stronger practices. And by helping accountants first, then we're setting them up to be able to then reach out and help their business owners. We're affecting many more, hundreds of thousands of businesses. So there are our beliefs. Accreditations and awards. I suppose by way of showing this, I want to demonstrate that we're practicing what we preach. So we got Invested in People Gold. We put the AVN Excellence Accreditation, we set that up, didn't we, a few years ago, and we wanted to make sure, are we adhering to this? All right, I was saying all accountancy practices ought to be putting these standards in place, but are we doing this as well? Because most of them are just standard business standards, and we achieve that as well. More recently, we were nominated for the Business Enabler of the Year award, and that's something we're incredibly proud about, because that is exactly what we're about, isn't it? Enabling businesses. So we don't find out whether we've got that until next month, but fingers crossed. The fact that we've been shortlisted is an honour. Our unique selling proposition, so we've got the AVNRoadmaps, and for me the ultimate aim for there is to help an accounting practice achieve a £1 million per partner GRF And the option, if you like, to work a 3-day week. Not everybody wants to. Some people like working 7 days, but it's having the choice, isn't it? We supply skilled, experienced coaches and mentors with business acumen and business experience to help people through that process. And arguably it's not a USP, but we're about changing lives. It's not just about improving the business, it's about changing the lives behind those businesses. So the unique value proposition, this came from some of the people in this room. We surveyed a cross-section of our membership to find out what you felt was unique and valuable about AVN. So nothing compares to AVN came up several times, and the breakdown for that is that there are lots of businesses out there that might help you with pricing, maybe marketing, getting your team on board, those different things, but AVN takes much more of a holistic approach to building on an accountancy practice and gets much more involved in, again, helping you change the numbers that matter for you. This stems from that changing lives, actually. You see that we are genuinely out to help improve your lives, the lives behind the businesses, and not just the GRF and some of those numbers there. And from an AVN team point of view, everybody rated the AVN team as incredibly high. From a customer service point of view, from a knowledge and a professional point of view. So that was fantastic feedback, and thank you very much for that. From a value point of view, we have, and I may utter the words AVN Roadmap a few times today, we have our AVN Roadmap, which is a framework that we're taking people through, and we're getting some great feedback about that. We have our implementation. In fact, just incidentally, on the AVN Roadmap, there's only 60% of the membership going through that right now, which obviously suggests 40% aren't. So that's something that you probably ought to be talking to us about and embracing that. We run the implementation workshops, which is designed to get you out of that environment that you're in your office where you're probably getting distracted and involved in your day-to-day operations, coming out of that into a different environment where you can focus purely on growing your business and working on your business. We host the group sessions, online sessions, where you can tap into the knowledge of your peers as well as us to help you progress. We have all of the ideas and more that were originally created, and several more that we've done through our research that's always available to you through the System Builder portal. And we're running training all of the time, whether it's in the flesh or through online webinars. We've got the systems available to you in System Builder as well. I know many of you use other platforms for systems, but they are a great source of a starting point with lots of bells and whistles that you can apply that add value to your services. And yes, we're not a software company, but we will supply software if it's pertinent. And these 4 software tools that I've pulled up on screen, we've been heavily building and redeveloping recently. Times Up's had some brand new features on it. And on-track SSTW, cloud-based, but I'll talk a little bit more about those very shortly. And we have a team of practice growth experts here to help you through that roadmap journey. Let me just give you an insight as to who the practice growth experts are. So everybody knows Emma. Emma is an accountant. She came from an accountancy practice. She's been with us for 18 years now. She's a Yeah, I know, yeah. She's on the AVN board, but she's worked with hundreds of accountants in a coaching, training, mentoring capacity, and she's delivered our Making It Happen program as well to business owners. Recently, Emma had to have some blood tests done, and what they discovered is that upon closer inspection of her DNA that she's got AVN. Coursing through her veins. And to be fair, that same applies to many of our team members, doesn't it? Next is the missus. Actually, Jenny's, the stuff on the left-hand side is identical to Emma's. They are interchangeable in every way, work-wise. We've got James as well. He's on the board as well. He's been with us for 9 years. His specialised knowledge is in mergers and acquisitions and also varied currency type businesses. So if you need to tap into any of that, James is available for that. when I'm looking to recruit, to work with a practice growth expert, I have a specific criteria that's incredibly important to me. They've got to match our values, they've got to have the right attitude, they've got to have a reputation proving that they can do what they say they can do. They've got to have business experience, but it's got to be good business experience. They've got to have good business acumen. It's no good having a business that failed miserably. I want to know that they're successful. And they've got coaching skills. Those of you who have read my book will know that I've defined what I believe are coaching skills, and they have to meet those standards that are defined in that book. So what I'd like to do is introduce you to our most recent practice growth expert, Andrea, who fits every single one of those criteria. Andrea's sat there, so if you haven't had a chance to speak to Andrea yet, please do so. Andrea fits all of those criteria. She's been coaching and mentoring CEOs for 20 years, and we're very privileged that Andrea chose to work with AVN. Andrew Miller is another person who's coming on board very soon, so I gave those two mystery silhouettes, didn't I? So Andrew Miller is a former insolvency practitioner working for KPMG. He decided to move away from that because of the depressing nature of dealing with people who'd lost their business. And actually he moved into a role where he was helping people overcome the emotional turmoil of losing their baby, their business. He then realised, actually, I'll take a step back from that and try and get them there before they've lost their business. So he's progressively moved into a coaching role, helping people achieve enjoyment in their business. Andrew's also an author of 4 books and probably counting. And then finally, Andrew, by the way, would have been here, but he's in Portugal at the moment. And finally, Jonathan Holroyd, who has been an integral part of AVN for many years. I can't remember which masterclass you came to, Jonathan. I think it was 1999, wasn't it? Yeah, and he has been so passionate, such an advocate of AVN for all of that time. And it's a privilege that Jonathan's going to take on this role and work with us to help the people in this room and our other AVN members. So Jonathan, when he left his multi-partner firm HGH, became a strategic consultant to AVN. He got involved in our strategic retreats, some of our board meetings. He was a coach and mentor to AVN members, but for the past few years he's taken more of a back seat as he's retired. However, we've managed to bring him back in. It didn't take much because he's such a passionate guy. And one thing I really like about Jonathan, he will call a spade a spade. Jonathan has recently written his book, Accountancy is Your Business. 97 ways to basically convert your accountancy practice into an accountancy business. Jonathan has kindly gifted every single one of you a copy of his book, which is in your bag. And it is an inspiring read. It's a remarkable book. So I strongly recommend that you all read that. It's full of some fantastic stuff. And please take the opportunity to have a chat with Jonathan as well in the break. We're also tapping into external expertise as well. It's not just about what we can bring, but it's a small world, isn't it? We're tapping into other experts now to bring you training. A few months ago, we tapped into Helen Wilkie from Canada, and she talked to a large group of you about how to produce better articles that will get read. Yesterday, we had Sarah Cripps talking about inspiring the millennial generation. So we've got a number of people that we're talking to, and there's a few more planned for next year as well, that we just want to bring that expertise to you. And what about you? Shaz has been on stage. Neil's coming on stage, actually. We've had the award winners that are sharing their stories with you. If you've got something that you'd love to share with the rest of the network, then please do let us know, and we can give you that platform, whether it's on stage here at the conference or whether it's through the webinars. Gearing's the next level. Gearing is about, as the analogy suggests, you know, when you're in a car, you're driving along, you're in first gear, the engine's revving really hard and the car's not moving very fast. Well, that's the case for many business owners, isn't it? Gearing is about sticking the clutch in, having a minute, moving into the next gear, the engine relaxes, the car moves faster. That's what gearing's about. It's about leveraging up what you've got. Now, typically what we do with accountants, we help them move from this partner-centered type of practice into a client manager setup. And that's just one aspect of gearing. We do many more things in there, but that's ultimately it. And the role of the partner moves into coaching the client managers rather than the partner dealing with the clients and the prospects. That's down to the client managers. So that's one of the things that we touch on in gearing. From an AVN point of view, we have a similar setup. We have our research and support team supporting our practice growth experts to help our members progress through the AVN roadmaps. If any of us gets hit by a bus, the company will continue because of the setup that we've got. It's a truly scalable setup. Every single member of our team fully adheres to our values. This is a people analyzer where you, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on as well, where you go through and make sure every single member of your team fully adheres to your values. Automation arguably speaks for itself. It's about getting systems in place, efficient, lean systems. And AVN have always had the mindset around systems, and we continue to evolve and review our systems, but ultimately we're a very systems-driven business, which enables us to take relaxing holidays without worrying about what's happening in the office. Being sought after is what profile's about, and this is where you raise your profile in your target marketplace, so more and more people want to come and work with you. One way to raise your profile is to become an author. And collectively within AVN, we have a pool of authors and a growing number of books now that's really raising our profile in the marketplace. And of course, we're doing what we can to raise the profile of accountants, AVN accountants, in the business owner marketplace as well, and changing those perceptions for you through this book and many other avenues. In fact, we're regularly on speaker circuits, running webinars, producing articles and blogs and videos to that effect. And then finally, in the roadmap, and this is for me is the pinnacle, we're being much more purposeful. So I shared this slide with you earlier, and arguably the bottom three elements of this are about becoming much more purposeful. We're making a difference, we're changing lives. And I mentioned Ellen's departure earlier, but something we've always been passionate about is helping our team members grow and develop themselves and pursue their dreams and aspirations. So as much as it's sad when somebody parts company with us and moves on, they're going on to new adventures and enjoying what they're doing. It's just a new chapter in their life. So we're always happy about that. So yeah, we are making a difference out there, and it's something that I'm very proud to be saying. And we're impacting on the global goals through B1G1, which is our channel for doing that. I'm not going to talk too much about the global goals right now because I know Stephen Brigginshaw is, and Steve Pipe is later on today. Okay, so I just wanted to give you that, as I say, it's kind of like a stakeholder report, give you a bit of a flavour for where we're heading now as a business. If you've got any questions about that, please do come and talk to me at the break.